Hey, Patriots fans, if you want to see Toyota's best offers, including those not seen on TV, go to buyatoyota.com. It's Toyota's official website for deals from the official vehicle of the New England Patriots. Toyota, let's go 49ers?
Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
No smoke out of the chimney yet. We don't know.
Yeah, the Chargers took that one last night when they hired Harbaugh.
They hired Harbaugh. That was big.
Yeah. Barrel full of social media posters ready to go on Jared Harbaugh. So,
what did they say?
They had one that was like the Pope.
They really do love themselves.
I
used to think Fred liked the smell of his own farts. No one likes the smell of their own farts like the Chargers content team.
The guys from the NFL when we were in Germany said, "Yeah, we use your stuff to get to prep." You know, your analysis because we're objective about it.
It's because they're German. They don't know anything about football.
No, not NFL people said it.
That
right?
is a rematch.
Not a rematch.
It's not a rematch?
Fred doesn't believe in rematches.
Why not? Why is it?
Because you say that there's no such thing.
If the last game was in a Super Bowl and this game is in a Super Bowl, it's a rematch.
Well, their last
game wasn't
earlier
the Super
season.
Bowl.
No, I'm telling you,
2012.
if the game I'm comparing it to was also
Fred,
a Super Bowl,
I'm arguing
it's a
with
rematch.
you about yourself. Absolutely, it's a rematch.
Who do you think had a better Super Bowl? Deion Branch or Julian Edelman?
Kind of comparable. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I'd say Edelman because it came harder. What?
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and it's Deuce, Paul, me, Evan is at the Senior Bowl, so I think he's going to call in a little later. Yep.
The sidelines.
Yeah.
Do that when the food
He's
gets
up
here.
close.
Yeah, he'll call in and let us know what's going on in Mobile. You know?
Yeah, people practicing.
Yeah.
Working on their football skills.
I'm sure
trying to impress scouts.
He's found the next Patriot.
Yeah.
So
he's got his targets.
Yep. So we got a lot to talk about. We're getting a little closer to filling out this staff, I think. DeMarcus Covington is, I don't know if it's official, but it's reported and probably going to happen that he's the defensive coordinator. Long list of potential OCs ongoing. Nick Caley seems to be, the stars might be aligning for him a little bit, but we'll see.
Yep.
Yeah, you're not excited about that?
No. Out of the list, he would be toward the bottom.
Yeah.
Just kind of another
because
hire from within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of I wanted more of a high-powered OC that brings in a staff himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it seems like the signs are pointing towards, even if they hire Caley, that they're going to have some kind of Shanahan-influenced coaching staff now. And
pretty much every guy.
Kind of pulling from everywhere, maybe.
Yeah.
But how do we feel about Nick Caley like before Patricia? And this will probably tie into.
I mean, we talked about it on this show, as you know, like, he could be, in line, and then he left, but only because that's what we were being told. I don't know if he's any good. I really don't.
The old offense, when he was here for 8 years.
Yeah.
I didn't have any problem with him with that, but he learned the McVay offense for a year, and he's never really been the guy. As a guy, instead of Patricia, I would have listened and understood where they were going. There's a lot of guys, to Mike's point, they're either Shanahan or McVay kind of guy, and that's really the same tree with some variances as to how they do things.
Tight
obviously,
pants, all tight pants,
right? But all of the guys that they've been linked to, whether it's been guys that they've met with or requested or interviewed in person, they're all basically from that tree, in some way, shape, or form. And in my opinion, Nick Caley has among the least amount of experience in that tree.
Yeah.
So that's what, Clint Kubiak is a guy that was thrown out there by Burt Breer yesterday, and I'm kind of intrigued by him a little bit.
And Evan.
Evan
Evan threw it out there.
Intrigued by him? Yeah.
He said he wrote about him.
Yeah.
Oh. He's been an offensive coordinator before. Yep. He's called plays in two different places because when Nathaniel Hackett was going down the toilet, he handed play calling duties over to Kubiak. Obviously, that's the Shanahan system, from his dad. from working under his dad. And I'm not telling you that this is a star, but I like the idea of some experience calling plays. Most of these guys don't have any experience calling plays.
Yeah, I think to your point too, Paul, it's that, Gerard's a defensive coach. He hasn't really even had any experience in the offensive side of the ball. And I think, when you're just setting it up, it seems like they're going to hire, or they should hire, someone with a lot of experience that can, for all of Josh's warts, at least he could just run the offense. And Gerard and now probably Covington can handle the defense. But if it's Cayley, and it's kind of and I don't mean it in a bad way, a Frankenstein staff, but you're going to probably pull guys from different places to do different things. There's going to be like a learning curve on that side of the ball with Cayley as an offensive coordinator.
We talked
if that's
about
what
it.
Happens.
New first-time DC, potentially first-time OC, first-time head coach, and potentially a rookie quarterback. I mean, there's a lot of learning that's going on in this team.
Like you made the comment that you were hoping for like a high-powered offensive coordinator. Yeah. I obviously would be too, but to be honest, they don't really exist anymore.
No, there's not enough time.
Well,
they get good and then they become a head coach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's very little in the way of big-time experienced offensive coordinators around the league, and if they're already there, you're not going to get in general terms, you're not going to get an offensive coordinator from one place to leave and go. Now, Bieniemy did it. He went from Kansas City to Washington, obviously extenuating circumstances, but that's kind of rare.
I forget the long-time OC from Pittsburgh. I keep forgetting his name. He was a legend.
The OC?
The offensive line coach you're talking about?
No. Who was? Or maybe he was the DC. I forget. Who was the guy? Pittsburgh Steelers had him forever. I mean, he might have been more popular than the head coach.
Dick LeBeau.
Dick LeBeau is the one I was
thinking. That's a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but he never became a head coach. He didn't want to become a head coach, and he said, "I'm a coordinator. That's what I am." You don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
No,
but I mean, does it change how you think about it at all if they're, going to have a young offensive coordinator? Does that, change? I mean, my timeline is a few years. I don't think that they're going to come out of this offseason and be like, we're ready to go, 2024 playoffs, here we come. I think it's going to, take a little while. But, when you look at how you're kind of balancing what positions you addressed in free agency, which positions you address in the draft, do you have a little bit more of a long-term view if you're saying, look, Nick Cayley, to Evan's point, Evan's, worried that you're going to get an offensive coordinator in here. He's going to do well, and he's going to be gone in a couple years. Does this maybe give you a little bit more time and maybe extend the clock a little bit in that, you got an offensive coordinator who's just starting out, is going to have a new staff. You're going to take some lumps, but, does it maybe take a little bit of the pressure off of we have to get a quarterback right away? Does that change at all? I don't know. I'm just, I don't know if it changes how you overall look at what the trajectory is. In terms of the quarterback,
nothing changes if one of these three, guys they like.
Yeah.
Nothing changes. I mean, you got to get, if you like them, you got to get them. There's no holding off on that. Then it's just a question of, is he ready to play right away? And nowadays, these teams aren't waiting. You throw them right in.
But to Mike's point, you might have the opportunity to be a little bit more patient with all of the newness to your coaching staff. It would be pretty tough to say, but okay, so you waited and it didn't work in the first year. Now you're on the clock in the second year with a bunch of rookies who are all coming in together.
But I'm not worried about retaining the guy as we're getting good.
Right.
I'm worried about retaining him once we are good and not screwing that up. So I'll be patient as much as you want. The guy's not going anywhere if you're not, no one's going to want to hire him if you're not seeing success. But once he sees success, you want to keep him because you want to keep that success, but that's when they leave.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the quarterback.
No, I'm talking about the OC right now.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the quarterback had to play right away because that's what everybody's doing.
Well, that's true.
I would say, I think you're in a situation where you don't necessarily have to play him right away because Gerard Mayo's not going to get fired in a year.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. No, that's
you don't have that pressure. There's times a guy might be in his third year or fourth year, and then they draft the quarterback. He can't afford to wait around. Right now, Matt Eberflus, they're either going to stick with Justin Fields, or they're going to draft Caleb Williams and have to play him because he doesn't have time. They're not going to wait around another 2 years.
Right. All right. So that's item number one is the building of the staff. Number two, I guess, before we get to what happened over the weekend with the other games. Mark Daniels had a piece on the demise of Mac Jones and why that happened, and according to him and Karen Garigian, who also contributed to the story over at Mass Live, they talked to like 20 different sources in and around the building. Mike, were you one? I don't know, because that's a lot of people.
I mean,
I wouldn't doubt it.
I mean, I could have been, because everything that was kind of in there was like, yeah.
I was going to say, based on the story, I wouldn't doubt if Mike was one of them.
No,
there wasn't really a lot there.
There wasn't a lot of earth-shattering news. A lot of stuff that we either knew or suspected. The stinger in the Germany game was new. I didn't know about that.
Yep.
But
I didn't know about that either.
But
I also don't believe it.
And the other thing, why not? The other
they would have taken him out.
The other thing that
they were dying to take him out.
The other thing that I took out of that was just the lack of communication once things started getting sour.
Yep.
And I don't know, if it's true. Like, to me, that's poor coaching.
Yeah.
Like you never not communicate with your players, even when things are bad or you're mad at them, and you have to tell them why you're mad and explain to them what's going on. For all we know, Mac was doing it again. He was going outside the building looking for help, and Bill didn't like that, and I'm done with you. I don't know. I don't know what the reason was, but to me, there's very few excuses for coaches not talking and communicating with their players. That's what it's all about. It's about teaching. And how can you teach if you don't communicate? That part I really didn't sit well with me, if true.
Yeah.
If true.
No, I agree. I mean, it struck me too, and if Bill had stayed, it just seemed like there was no way that it was ever going to work again. You lost Mac. I mean, not to say that I feel like there's something really trying to worth save, but it's the same stuff that we've kind of talked about. I mean, the same thing with the Callahan story. I mean, we should mention Tommy Kern talked to Mac's QB coach as well, and said he told him he should ask for a trade after that first year, which how would they ever trade him?
After the first year?
That's what he said. I don't know if that meant like after they hired Patricia, but the big piece of the article was after that first year, I told Mac he should get out because Josh had left, and it was. I mean, but I'm like, how? There's no way that was ever going to happen. After
I need to know the timing there, because if it's, after Patricia showed that he just wasn't the guy, I could see that.
Yeah,
but
no, me too. It was, and they didn't explicitly say that either in the article. At least I didn't see it, so I don't know. That was a little bit different, but it's the same stuff with. I mean, like yep, the coaches have some blame. Yep, Mac has some blame, and the bottom line was he's turning the ball over like a madman, and that to me that's what it's all about. Like if they couldn't clean that up, he wasn't going anywhere.
And that was the part of so this is now like in the last week you've had two very different stories about Mac Jones that kind of paint a very different picture. This one being much more sympathetic to Mac Jones. Bedard last week had quotes from anonymous quotes saying about all the things that Mac wasn't doing and how he was, rubbing people the wrong way to steal the Mayo line. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But I do think this story, the Mass Live story, I thought really glossed over the stuff that Mac did wrong, like going off script constantly. That it was just kind of mentioned briefly in passing.
Yeah,
it would be like 3 paragraphs of the receivers saying they had to be better and the offensive line saying they had to be better, and then he would sort of freelance and not run the plays. And then it was like the receivers just needed to improve, and he had a stinger, don't you know?
Well, yeah,
please.
and Mac kind of in it, Mac kind of admits, I was doing things on my own, like because he felt like he had to, and it was kind of like. See, you feel it wanted you to feel sorry for him. Like you would be doing the same thing if you were in his position. No one's talking to you. You feel like you're on an island. You just got to make up things on your own. So who knows what actually happened? But like you said, Paul, truth is probably in the middle. The blame pie is probably shared among a lot of people on that offense last year.
And I think if you look at it, like it's so dependent on who you talk to.
Yeah.
Because I know
what's their angle,
right? and everybody has agendas, and that's what I don't mind when people don't attach themselves to quotes because obviously they fear retribution, but it really detracts the reader from having a context for what the agenda might be from whoever's saying it. Like, that changes things to me.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of stuff about the receivers that, to me, and I'll just come out and say it, sounded to me that they came directly from Demario Douglas. Right? It was like...
Because he was popping off?
No. He was being very respectful of Mac, putting a lot of, on the receivers in general. Like, we would start to make strides, and then, like, we felt like we got there by the end of the year. Like,
you don't think that's born?
They weren't. He was hurt.
I know.
By the end of the year. He wasn't talking about getting better at the end of the year when he was out after week 8.
He could have been talking about the team.
No, he was talking about the receivers in general.
Okay.
Like, and I'm not saying that that's bad. I think it showed maturity on Demario Douglas's part to accept responsibility for how they let him down earlier in the year, and they had gotten better as the year went on. He's the only one that stayed in the group.
Yeah.
Like, that to me.
Juju was out.
Right.
Thornton wasn't really playing.
So I just think that there was a lot of excuse making for Mac in that piece and very little of he's just not that good.
Yeah.
He's just not that good. Like, I get all the reasons why he was broken. Like, he doesn't have to be broken. That Bill Belichick helped with.
Yeah.
I would totally agree with the people who think that Bill Belichick played a role in that. I just don't think that he's to the point where he is now just because of coaching. Yeah,
and the other thing I kind of, raised an eyebrow at when I was reading is part of his demeanor when things were going bad. He was almost too happy-go-lucky, like too aloof, like, oh, this isn't bothering me. And whoever it was that gave that quote, the way I read into it was he wasn't leading.
Yeah.
He was like,
You're right.
It's okay, everything's okay, when it wasn't.
You know what it was to me? False bravado.
Yeah.
It's I'm trying to let everybody know, like, I'm dying inside, but I can't let anybody know that. No, we got this.
Yeah.
We're great. Everything's great. We got it. We got it. And that was what he was trying. That was how he was trying to lead. I don't listen. Was it a mistake? Probably, but he's trying to keep it together.
Right.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, it was a line that you heard him say a few times was that I'm just going to run my race and hopefully people follow. And that's not something that someone says who's going to hold other people accountable and say, look, we have to be better. You're not doing, I don't think,
Great point, Mike.
Mac's an interesting character because there are certainly things I have issues with him. But there are also things like him showing up at the Mayo thing. Because of who he is, it drew the ire of kind of the players up. But if that was another quarterback that we kind of believed in, I would be like, this is awesome. The season ended a week and a half ago. This guy's still in here working out. Like, I like that.
If he was.
But because of who he
but
is
then we
and
hear
the
the story from
complications.
Bedard.
No, but that's
his locker's
yeah.
cleaned
Now
up.
I would have said the same thing without knowing the Bedard context. Now maybe Greg's wrong. Like, I'm not telling you that. Typical Paul. He believes the negative one. He doesn't believe the positive one.
That's true.
No, I said. What did I say?
I know.
The truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that. I agree with Mike. I think Mac, to me, comes off as a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he's got like.
Yep.
I think that he's a little entitled. I think he's been a little spoiled over his career. But I don't think he comes off as like mean-spirited in any way or
A jerk.
No. I've never read that from him at all.
But
I think he thinks more of himself than he probably should, but
then you have the stuff in the game that I don't like, that I started calling out his rookie year. I mean, the Brian Burns stuff, the raising his foot to keep guys in the junk, the nut taps.
He's got a little Danny Ainge
that
in him.
stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just when you add all those things up, you look at what a quarterback has to be in the NFL, and he just wasn't in it.
That's the thing.
It's not what going to get behind him
when
and
it
fight.
Other than the talent part of it, to be in the NFL, to be a starting, you have to be a leader. You have to have people follow you. Like, I don't know any of the good quarterbacks who don't have control of their offense, and aren't in their, teammates' face. You can't be aloof and be doing your own thing, good or when things are good or bad.
Yeah,
you have to be leading your team. That's a big trait in the NFL, is leadership out of a quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's like guys like Hunter Henry who, seemed genuine when they said how much they liked Mac, and I think that they all did like Mac. I just don't know if they felt like Mac's going to light a fire under our ass and we feel like we got to win for this guy. And, I've played for coaches and, captains and stuff, guys that you like, but also just that you don't want to let down and you want to play hard for. I don't know if he's got that kind of gene. And I think as we move to like try to find the next quarterback,
That's Fred for me.
it's I
don't want to let him down,
right? Well, and that's I think the sign of a great boss. I mean, it's not the guys that you're afraid of. They're like, oh God, I got to do right because he's going to yell at me.
You want to play for them.
I respect this guy. I want to do a good job for them. But I don't think he ever quite got there. And there's just so much complications now, which sounds like they're ready to let him stick around unless they get a trade deal.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like this is, and that I think all of this is all part of a bigger thing. Is they're talking, and I think they're trying to start to talk to some of the writers and say, let's see if we can grease
some
the skids
feelers
here
out
and
a
help
little
it
bit.
out here.
Well,
But I do not think he will be
It
on.
reminds me of the Seinfeld
24
episode
Patriots.
when Kramer had the coffee deal. And they're like,
Oh, that was on the other day.
They don't even say the deal. I'll take it. That's what the Patriots, if they get an offer for.
right.
Like the Patriots.
We take him and one of your picks, and we give you nothing.
Someone's willing to give a second and a fifth for Mac Jones, and the guy goes, "We'll give you a fifth. Take it.
I'll take it.
I was going to throw a
I was
second
gonna
in there
throw
too.
a second in there, but forget it.
All right, so that's that. And then you mentioned, people that other people want to play for, and that leads us to Dan Campbell and what happened with the Lions game and the 49ers. And, of course, we got to talk about the Chiefs getting to the Super Bowl. I will come off right now and tell everyone I'm rooting against the Kansas City Chiefs because I don't want them over the long haul to be able to equal what the Patriots did over that 20-year run. I admit it. I don't want Patrick Mahomes over the long haul to do what Tom Brady did. I will admit it. But I also will admit the Chiefs are damn good. They know how to win, obviously. And Mahomes is damn good. He's on track, if he keeps this up, to be better than Tom Brady. But he's got a long way to go. But I'm not going to be sitting here saying, oh, the Chiefs don't deserve it. They're not that good. Mahomes isn't that good.
Don't forget the games are fixed.
No. It's because of Patrick Mahomes that the Chiefs are winning. And until the Chiefs don't have Patrick Mahomes, they will continue to win, much to my own dismay and those of other Patriots fans.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about San Francisco getting 6 titles, though? They're going to be tied in the six-timer club.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay.
I can't do everything through the Patriots lens.
See, we can't have everything.
And it's also like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I mean, I'm a weird thing because I was like a fan and now I work in, but I just kind of appreciate greatness at this point. And it's like, what are you going to do? You can't just sit there and stomp your feet and be like, they're not that good. They're not that good.
You got to appreciate the 49ers. You got to appreciate the Steelers, because they've done it over decades.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they had the condensed success the Patriots had, but they are a team that their fan base gets rewarded over time. Like, we've always got a chance. We're always, if not the best, we're among the top 10 teams in the league consistently.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, just what they're doing.
Like just as that, right? So the Niners won whatever it was, like 5 titles in 16 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you look at the Niners any differently because of what the Patriots did?
No.
So why, is everybody so consumed with Kansas City not doing it?
Well, I am.
No, but you're not alone, Fred.
Yeah.
No.
And listen, I understand why people are rooting. I totally get why you would want Brady to maintain his spot as the undisputed GOAT that he has now.
Right.
I get that. I feel like kind of like Deuce. I kind of like greatness, and I like when the next big thing comes around.
And I like I like being the greatest, having the greatest be a Patriot.
But I think like LeBron coming around to show that it wasn't just Jordan. Like there's other great players that we can appreciate watching. I don't like LeBron. Mm-hmm. I don't. I've never have. But I appreciate his greatness.
Yeah.
And I still would say that Jordan is better or whatever. But I think that having another great team to sort of lead you to the I don't think it's a bad thing.
And it just goes to show you that no matter how great something was, over time something will come by that will be better.
Yeah.
Or as good.
Yeah, that's my point.
Happens.
Instead of just saying it'll never happen again,
but I think
why don't you just appreciate the fact that it happened?
But I think for Patriots fans, and I'll throw myself in this category, it's too soon. Like, can we wait 20 years before another great team happens?
2038 and Patriots,
ours ends and theirs begins. And, it's just too soon. Can we just,
Yeah,
kind of
because there was
Can we hoard it over the league for
Yeah,
a little
can we
while?
have
because
it-
there was like 5 years between San Francisco and the Patriots.
Yeah.
So this is immediate.
Yeah. But I mean, like what they've done in this playoff run. I mean, we've seen these teams up close. Like to beat Miami, which Patriots haven't been able to stop Miami. To go to Buffalo and beat Josh Allen, we know what that's like, and then to beat the Ravens, where everybody feels like it's their year. I mean,
they're doing it in different ways. It's not like they're scoring a ton of points. The defense is playing well, and Mahomes is finding a way to stay ahead, and that's very Patriots-like.
It is.
It was
he's
weird
not making
because
the
like the
mistakes.
first 2 games and then the first half of this Baltimore game, the offense was great. Then all of a sudden the offense went away and they still won. To Fred's point, like because it was like 26, 27 points the first 2 games, and then the first half 17 more. They looked great.
Yeah.
And then the defense took it home.
Yep.
Now, when Brady was in 2020, didn't he win 3 road games to go to that Super Bowl? Is that correct?
Yes.
I think, with
Yes,
Tampa?
he did.
Well, wait a minute.
But it was
With
COVID.
Tampa.
There were no fans.
Yes,
Right.
yes. He
Right.
did win 3 road games.
But just the point is, I mean, Brady won 2 playoff road games here, right? I mean, he won against San Diego in 2006, and he won against Kansas City in 2018. Like, Patrick Mahomes just
Those are the only 2 road games they won?
playoff games.
Wow.
And this is the first time Patrick Mahomes has had to go on the road.
that was the thing
And he won
going into
both
the
of them.
playoffs. Like he's never had playoff games on the road, which is but that's because they're so good. It's not his
Right.
fault.
Right.
They win a lot.
I used to make fun of people that criticize the Patriots fans. It's not their fault that they get the number 1 seed every year.
Right.
And he didn't blink. And those are hard places to play. And they don't have the same kind of firepower maybe they once did. But he limits his mistakes. He picks his spots. He's not turning the ball over.
So I will give the Chiefs their flowers, but I want them to lose.
Brock Purdy still annoys me, and it's not even like an Evan thing. I don't know why. It's come on late. It's like a late onset Brock Purdy annoyance. I don't know what it is. There's something about him that
I think
annoys
it's really
me.
funny, and in a lot of ways, I'm glad he's not here because we don't need
Brock
to like.
Purdy?
No,
Oh,
Evan.
Evan.
We don't need to devolve it into an argument.
Why not? Let's argue.
Well, I'm sure you and I will argue because that's what we do. But I come away from these 2 games, like I've been pro Purdy, right? Like saying I think he's better than you give him credit for.
Yeah.
I still think he's better than people like Evan give him credit for, but it's 2 very unimpressive games for him. Like
Well, I thought
He made some plays in the second half of this
he
one.
did,
I
with
thought.
his feet.
running.
Running.
That's
But-
it.
Running.
but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
No, he made a couple of plays running that were completely.
Yeah.
I just.
No, that's fair. You're right.
I mean, the team has been thoroughly unimpressive in their 2 games. I thought they would really play well in this game after playing so poorly against Green Bay. They didn't. The biggest play of the game was a drop pick that went off a guy's face. And I don't know. I don't know what to think. Like I look at them and I say, yeah, I've seen other guys play for that offense. Garoppolo didn't do it like that, and then at the same time, I'm like, I can see the detractors. I see what they're talking about. He can get inaccurate at times. He throws a couple of balls up for grabs, got away with them. I will say, and I strongly believe it, their offensive line stinks. Like he's under pressure quickly.
He gets hit a lot.
He's
not
under
gonna
pressure
last
quickly,
long.
and he takes for his he completed a pass early in that game on their first touchdown drive when they were down 14-0. He took one right in the face as he was getting hit, and I think it was
Came up with a bloody lip. Is that
yeah,
the one?
well,
yeah. That was another one where he was on the ground and they hit him.
Yeah, that could have been a pen. That should have been a penalty.
Right.
I don't think he stinks. I'm not like Evan, but I don't think that he is quite as good as the pro Purdy crowd.
Well, I like how you said it upstairs about the Super Bowl of it's like Kansas City's not going to let them have.
Yeah, if they play the way they played the
one
first 2
half
games,
again.
they ain't beating Kansas City because Kansas City isn't going to hand them the game the way that Green Bay and Detroit did, especially Detroit.
Chris
Now,
Jones.
I do want to say, we talked before, Paul, all this thing about Dan Campbell and the analytics and everyone blaming on his decisions on the geeks in the basement feeding him what to do. Are we sure about that? Because to me it looks like I'm Mr. Tough Guy and I'm going for it on 4th down like I always do. And like it's more an emotional type of decision rather than an analytical one.
I don't know. I mean, I don't
I don't either.
I don't really know. And it's, I would have kicked it. I would have just said, look, it's going to be a tie game. Let's just extend the game. We've kind of got them, make them have to make some plays, put some pressure on them. But, I get the whole thing of and I don't know, is there a thing with your team when you kind of prescribe this philosophy, we're going to be super aggressive on fourth down, come what may? And, does that get you in your head that you're like, well, this is who we are and we just have to do it?
Yes.
Aside from the numbers too, which might say the same.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's
who
he is.
If that's what it is, I would criticize him even more for being inconsistent in the game now.
Yeah.
He kicked the field goal once, then he goes for it the next 2 times. I think he is totally analytics driven. I think that they have a plan in place, and that's what he basically goes by. It's paint by number. But in terms of this game specifically, I think too much has been made of the actual decisions as opposed to the plays. And not the plays that they ran on fourth down necessarily, but just plays that they didn't make as a team in the second half. It was a total self-destruction that I think people are letting the players off the hook.
Totally.
Because it's all Dan Campbell's fault. I think I could understand the first one because I think they still had control of everybody's like, well, the momentum had turned. No, it hadn't. The Niners came out in the first drive. They had to kick a field goal. Big deal. They still got a 14-point lead, and then Detroit got the ball and drove right down the field, just the way they did the whole first half. There was no sign that momentum had turned. Just kicking a field goal to make it 17, yeah. I mean, in 2020 hindsight, they could have used the points. But 4th and 2, I didn't think they were going to get stopped on that play. I think I would have gone for it, too, and gone for the throat. Make it a 31-10 game. Yeah. Halfway through the third quarter, the game's probably going to be over. The second one, I'm with Mike. I think you got to kick the second one and tie the game. Now, at that point, momentum had completely flipped, and your chances of making that are much more difficult. That's what they don't, and I say they, derogatory, that's what the nerds don't think. They don't take away, it's not the middle of October on a crossing route for Josh Reynolds? Maybe there's a little more pressure here. Maybe that might, because they don't believe in clutch.
Yeah.
They don't believe in clutch and late. They don't believe in this is one thing that Felger talks about all the time that he's right about. That's one of the flaws with it. You can put in whatever you want to make the numbers say what you want, but you can't account for the human element in these samples. And like I said, I don't kill Dan Campbell. Fred's right. He's been aggressive. I think that you can make an argument that if he changed his ways, they might have been hosting that game on Sunday. But he gets aggressive for better or worse, and it bit him. But I just, to me, there was the Reynolds drops, the having Gibbs up, between the tackles, bad move. And obviously he kind of ran the wrong direction, which led to the fumble. Again, complete self-destruction. Yep. Right down to the end of the game, you're chasing 10. If you're going to run the ball there, you got to call 2 plays. Again, my favorite thing, what is it? Coaching malpractice.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
And then the Ravens, I was really surprised at the game they put up. A lot of people were blaming it all on Zay Flowers. And he did kind of have a meltdown at the end of the game. But, I thought the Ravens would play a better game than
I did too. I didn't see that. I mean, in fairness, I didn't see the game unfold, but I would have thought that the Ravens would play much better than they did.
Yeah, they held Kansas City to 17 points, but their offense just couldn't do much.
Never got in gear, and those.
Why did they get away from the run?
I think they were 5 of 6 on third down to start. I mean, it was just they had them in a bunch of third downs.
They were moving the ball, but they just.
There was the one.
And letting Kelsey catch 11 passes.
I mean,
for a defense
right out of
that's
the gate,
that good.
right out of the gate. I mean, I don't know how many he had right in that first half. It was probably way more than half of them. But I kept waiting for. I was thinking in my head, I'm Lamar is like this dream car, and it's man, this is just so fun to drive. But then the one day you try to take it out. It's sleeting out, and you're like, uh-oh, this isn't a great day for this car. It's just there was something wrong. It just.
But it didn't look like that. Was an issue in the game, did it?
Just couldn't find any rhythm.
Well,
couldn't find any. He'd hit a couple plays down to Zay Flowers.
Yeah, the Chiefs were doing a good job in coverage, but it's Lamar.
Yeah, he just couldn't start.
Yeah.
When they start rolling, and you're like, oh my God, they just they couldn't get that going for whatever reason. And
he'd hold it.
I agree with you guys. It was a curious performance from that team because I do think they're pretty good,
and well coached.
And they went right back to that undisciplined, like seemingly too jacked up for
Ravens,
kind of like
Ravens.
Rex Ryan Jets kind of
right.
performance.
Well, I mean, Rex Ryan, Bart Scott throwing the flag into the stand, like those. I mean, it wasn't quite that over the top, ridiculous but I'm like, man, this is the Ravens. Like, why did they wait till now to start being idiots and just? I mean, I don't know what Zay Flowers. I mean, he was sick with himself with that taunting penalty, but. That's a taunting penalty all day long. Like,
no doubt.
Kicked the guy over, threw the ball down, stood right over him. Like
it was. I hate that
you
call.
know,
But it was. I can't argue.
You know,
I mean, if there's a definition of what they meant for putting that rule in, that was it.
For me, it was and maybe he was kind of.
It was the push, the standover spin. It was
Right,
like
right.
really
It was all
it,
three,
you know?
and maybe the DB was kind of holding him a little bit to get
but
get off me, man.
Right.
You know, which
So you
everybody kind of
pushed that,
does.
and that would be fine if that's all he had done. The rest would have let it go. But it was the spinning, it was the standing
Correct
over.
me if I'm wrong. They overcame that, right? That was the same drive that he fumbled on, right?
Yes, I think so.
Because again, I didn't. I'm asking dumb questions
No.
because I didn't see the
Well,
game.
what would have happened is
sequentially.
without that, they would have been first and goal. I think at the 9 or something.
No, I know, but they ended up getting the first down inside the 1 yard line when he fumbled.
I know, but they just needed to do more. That pushed them back 15.
Yeah, it made it harder.
Yeah, now they had to get up again, and then Flowers, like you said, he fumbled.
Yeah.
That to me was far more egregious than the taunting. penalty.
Extending the ball.
Dumb.
You saw the interception too, which
The interception,
was,
dumb.
Like
dumb.
Triple coverage.
And I hear people talking about interference on that play. You got to be kidding me.
What are they going to do? All stop and just stand around him and wait to let him catch it?
Like I know there was one that they showed in the highlights on I think the field goal when they ended up kicking the field goal to make it 17-10. That third down play they missed a hold on Likely, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But I don't have any penalty on the Likely in the end zone. And triple coverage.
No,
please.
no.
You're not going to get bailed out very often.
No,
unless you're Brady.
So
they got to be sick. I mean, everybody felt like Baltimore. This was their year.
Yeah.
And it's it's just Mahomes going right. Like everybody's waiting for Josh Allen and Lamar to click in and have their special year. And Patrick Mahomes is doing to those guys what Brady did.
That's right.
To like Phillip Rivers and all those good quarterbacks.
That to me was
never
a very
could quite
Patriots-like
get over,
win.
Absolutely.
We're going to play well, and we're going to button it up. We're not going to do anything special, but we're going to play well, and we're going to let the other team.
Yep, we're not going to beat ourselves. We're not going to make
We're going to
stupid
let the other
mistakes.
team
especially
make
in the second
mistakes
half, even
because
if we
they're
can't
not
move the
used to
ball.
being
yeah,
here.
it was early Patriots. We'll go to your house. We'll be the underdog. We'll feel disrespected by being called the underdog, but we're going to beat you at your house, and we're going to go to the Super Bowl.
There was more Brady road wins. The Pittsburgh games.
Of course there were.
I knew we were missing some when we started the show.
In the early
two Pittsburgh
ones, right.
conference championships.
Okay.
01 and 04 were
Right.
both
There
in
were two other ones.
both in
Right.
Pittsburgh.
4. Sorry.
We went to San Diego a little
Well, that was
later.
the one that Mike was talking about because Mike was at
I
that
was
game.
there.
Yeah.
If you hadn't heard that already, I have to give Lane a shout out though because we watched Kansas City last week and then this week, and we're watching the game. She's like, I don't really watch football, but this Pacheco guy looks like he's like the best player in the league.
He's a good
And I'm
player.
like, that's how he looks. He runs like a madman, you know?
I told you, he runs like he's mad at the ground.
And then, of course, Taylor Swift.
So one more thing on the game itself before
Yeah.
you go to Taylor Swift, like as an example of like just the players again, like the coaching. Well, I didn't have him ready. You didn't have Harbaugh because everybody hates Harbaugh too because he's a whiner. So they get that they don't have the right personnel on the field. That last drive, they got to get the stop, right? They got to get a 3-and-out to get the ball back, and they have too many men on the field, so it sets up 1st and 5. I think very good coaching, very good preparation to go offside on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Except you can't kill the guy when you do it.
Right.
I saw
Again, just overhyped,
So-
over aggressive,
and
dumb.
and then got tight too.
Yeah. So it's just a disappointing performance by the Ravens. Let's see. Who do we have on line 4? Oh, it's Evan Lazar from Mobile. What's up, Evan?
Hello, guys. How we doing?
Good. You're on the Patriots Unfiltered show with Mike Dussault, Paul Perillo, and Fred Kirsch. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for introducing yourself to me.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
So tell us everything. What's going on down there? What makes you excited?
Yeah, we just got wrapped up national practice here in Mobile, and I'm hearing myself echo, so that's a little weird. But
you sound fine on our end.
We'll power through.
Yeah.
We'll power through. So I would say it was not the greatest practice for Michael Penix and Bo Nix, but these two guys are practicing in a system they're not familiar with, and you don't always see cornerbacks come out here and put on a show for that reason. But the star of the day, I would say, was Michigan wide receiver Roman Wilson, who I really feel like has a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown in his game. Not a Paul type. Sorry, Paul. Not an outside guy. But
I like Roman Wilson, though. He's a good player.
Yeah, another slot receiver, but I look at him as someone that could be a high-volume guy at the next level. He was uncoverable here today. I don't really think I saw anybody be able to cover him out of this cornerback group, which has some good players in it. So I was really impressed with him, and a couple of the tackles definitely looked the part, and I know that that's a group that the Patriots are going to look closely at here this week.
Okay, with Wilson, what do you think? Third round, second round?
So he was a late day 2 projection coming into today, so third round pick. Maybe if you have such a deep wide receiver class, he could maybe be pushed into early day 3. But if he continues to practice like this down here, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to talk about him in the second or third round easy. I mean, he just has a really smooth route, gets great separation at the top of the route, doesn't fight the ball, can transition into yards after the catch. That's why I make them on Ross St. Brown comp, because he's not the fastest guy down the field, but he's just incredibly smooth all around with his route running, and I see a lot of that in his game. But I think here today, you saw at the end of practice too, best on best. They kind of took one-on-ones at the end when they pulled some of the best guys on each side of the ball. And Kingsley Sumati is a tackle from BYU that shut down Letu Latu, who's going to be a first-round pick a couple times. So I was really impressed with him in terms of the tackles as well.
Okay. And in terms of other teams, to the best of what you can see, every team represented there in terms of scouting?
Oh, yeah. The Patriots have a full contingent here. They got about probably 8 or 9 guys, I would say, on the scouting side. Matt Groh, Elliott Wolf, obviously here, Cameron Williams, and then pretty much every team I've seen so far. Some teams, Fred, I was thinking of you guys, because, some teams, they're marching around with their chest puffed out a little bit after this season. We saw Nick Caserio. He had a nice little pep to his step, I thought. You see some of those teams, it's funny when teams that went deep in the playoffs and things like that, they always have a little bit more swagger when they come around this time around compared to last year.
The teams that already have their quarterback are the ones that are, less pressure.
Yeah.
So now I can fill other spots. I'm not so worried about the quarterback position. It gives you a lot of freedom.
Did you see the Ravens guys? Are they how are they walking around?
Whoa.
I did see a few Ravens guys, and they were not very talkative. Let me put it that way. But I think it is funny that the teams that, like a team like the Texans, they had kind of a out of nowhere type of season, maybe a year earlier than people thought that they would be this deep in the playoffs. So you see the difference between those teams and then like the Ravens contingent, who are disappointed with their result, even though they made it all the way to the championship game. So you definitely can feel those vibes coming off of certain personnel departments for sure.
Yeah, and I understand that our content team, you included, will be able to talk with Matt Groh and some of the scouts there. Has that happened already, or is that going to happen?
No, we're going to talk to a few of them after practice today, and then probably Matt Groh tomorrow is, I think, the plan. But, yeah, we are going to talk to those guys, so I'm really interested and excited to pick their brains just about this class in general and see what they think. I think the buzz around here continues to be you need a quarterback, a receiver, or a tackle. This is a really good class, and that's the Patriots, right? Those are the 3 positions that Gerard Mayo keeps on hammering every time he's available to the media, is those 3 spots on offense. So I think that this is going to be a good class for the Patriots.
But Mayo himself is not there, correct?
No Gerard Mayo. I assume he's back at home doing OC interviews and things like that still. He's not here.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, any good eats so far, or is that
important stuff?
No, we'll go out tonight. Last night we kept it a little bit low-key. We had a long day of travel yesterday, so maybe we'll find some spots tonight. I think Matt Smith wants to get some crawfish or something like that down here in Mobile, maybe barbecue.
Oh, boy.
So we'll see.
Have fun.
All right. Well, keep up the good work. We'll be looking for your stuff on your social media accounts, and I don't know.
Probably our website, too.
Yeah, so good stuff.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys.
All right, Evan, thanks. Evan Lazar, checking in from Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl.
Having the time of his life.
Yeah, well, this is special. I mean, this is the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah,
for
I'm excited. He's wanted to go for a long time, so I'm excited for him. And it's a big week. The draft starts in Mobile, so here we go.
Yeah. All right, and then before Evan called, we wanted to touch on the whole Taylor Swift thing. So, it's a big time for her. Her guy is in the Super Bowl, and people think it's a conspiracy theory by the league to have her in there. And she's going to perform at halftime. I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way on God's green earth that she performs at halftime at the Super Bowl. There's no way.
Now I want to see it happen.
There's no way, because half the stadium will boo her.
Isn't it already booked, though? Isn't it already like this?
Yeah, well, it's Usher.
Yeah, but Usher
they can always fit somebody.
Oh,
in. Yeah.
That always happens.
Yeah. But she's not going to do it. She that's a bad business move on her end to do that.
She's too modern for the Super Bowl. You need to be at least like 10 years after your highlight.
Right.
Like Usher was like,
she
10
did
years
say
ago.
no.
Yeah.
She turned
I
him
believe
down.
it.
Well, that was before she started seeing Kelsey,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Well,
but
as far as we know.
But because she's so tied to one team, she'd be crazy to go out there. She's going to get booed by all the fans of the other team.
But aren't there mostly like kind of corporate fans there? I mean,
Well,
are there heavy contingents of
no.
actual team
Look-
fans
no.
at the Super Bowl?
Mike, you wouldn't know because
I
you haven't been to
And
Super
I probably
Bowls.
never will either.
No, usually the stadiums are half and half.
Yeah, people pick
Yeah.
sides.
Yeah.
And like even when she was here for the Kansas City game, when they showed her, like the young girl screamed like they couldn't believe it, and then it was followed by boos from the Patriots fans.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
They got to balance it off with one of the 49ers girlfriends or wives or something. Let her,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
Kyle Juszczyk's wife come out and like
or
design
Olivia
a jacket.
Culpo.
Olivia Culpo. Like have them
Right.
come out and
That's her
and
name,
do a
right?
little fashion thing.
I'm getting that right?
Oh, you know it's
That's
right.
McCaffrey's
Is it
son.
Culpo or Culpo?
Culpable?
Culpo.
I don't know.
She's got a type.
She's
All right.
the one that used to be with Dola, right?
Dola, yeah.
Dola.
She's. I mean, she can't wait. She like every picture of her. She's with some guy who's got football pads and a hat on. After just winning something.
All right, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. Let's get to some phone calls. Talk about anything. Dominic's in New York. What's up, Dominic?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Good.
What's up?
Good. Just going back, Fred, I also agree. Just give it some time. I wanted Tom Brady to be the GOAT for a little bit longer. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to get there. So I definitely agree with understanding greatness, but I kind of want to revel
Sure.
with Brady for a
Yep.
little longer before we have the debates and whatnot. But that's neither here nor there. The reason I'm calling in is actually more about the Detroit-San Francisco game. And Paul, to your point, I am pro Purdy. I mean, he's drafted in the 7th round. No one really expected anything from him. He's doing incredibly well. But people are still, knocking him, similar to how they kind of knocked Jared Goff, saying, like, Sean McVay is the real reason he found success, which is great. You have a coach that can coach, right? But the first couple of years, he had great numbers similar to Purdy, at least in his first full season. And people were still kind of going against the guy, so much so that, even McVay, traded him to Detroit, whatever. But Jared Goff, so he's a really good quarterback in the league. I think Purdy can be a really good quarterback in the league. I really don't understand the hate. He takes hits and things in the pocket and still makes the throws. He's able to make off-platform throws. I'm not going to go and say, top-tier elite, but he's a very good quarterback, and I think in that system, that's all you can really ask for. So
Yeah.
He's making the plays, and even when it's not perfect, he's making them when it counts, right? So I think, for me, I give him the credit for that. But switching gears real quick, like one of the things, obviously, I think Detroit gave away that game. And to your point, I kind of just wish they kicked the field goal at the end. And even beyond that, I was really mad with the timeout management. You had 3 full timeouts. You're driving. You get in the field goal range. You still have your 3. Maybe kick it if you can. Try to get another drive. Maybe you try to, go for the big play, go for the end zone. But there was a lot of mismanagement at the end with Dan Campbell. And it kind of goes back to what people are saying. Like, he's a good leader, but situationally, it just seemed like everything was out of whack. Even though that's who you are as a person, you're trying to get to, you're trying to make a trip to the Super Bowl. So I was really just very, very annoyed at the end of the game. And it makes me think, when Gerard Mayo, as he takes over, how good is he with situational football, right?
Yeah.
How good is he with coaching up players? I think Danny Amendola said at the Ravens, with one of the Raven players, Zay Flowers, they said, oh, yeah, that's why you never reach for the end zone, because they can knock it out. Bill Belichick taught us that, and that's something he pointed to. So I'm curious to see next season what situational downs look like. Is he really aggressive on 4th down? What are the play calls? And sort of what does he coach the players to do? And I think seeing everything that happens with Dan Campbell, I'm more curious about that with Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
And gives me something to look forward to, honestly. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we won't know until we're in the moment. There's no way to tell. Thanks, Dominic. There's no way to tell if a guy's good at that until they get to do it. Yeah. Not in preseason. I'm talking about in a game, high pressure. You know, how quickly can you think?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I mean, it's just, like you said, there's so much to manage for a head coach. And, you know, you get in, the bullets are flying. You know, maybe he's talking to the defense about something. Like, there's just so much on a head coach's plate. That's why I wonder, you know, with some of these reports about Steve Belichick sticking around, would that be, you know, would he be potentially like in some kind of Ernie Adams-esque
is
role?
he good at
perhaps?
it? I don't know.
I'm just, but thinking of people that he might have as, you know, not a consultant, but, you know, kind of an assistant to the head coach that, you know, maybe is paying attention to those things or, you know, something. I think that's a valuable role. I think everybody loved Ernie Adams, and, you know, I think that's something the head coach can use, somebody to lean on who's kind of got a big picture view
someone
of everything.
that's all they're doing. You know, they're not worried about the offense or the defense and everything else, but they're just focused on situational, you know, decisions.
Yeah, challenges.
Clock related, down and distance related, you know, things like that.
Should we challenge? Yeah. Should we challenge this thing?
Yeah.
Those kind of.
I'm available.
Yeah.
You'd be good at it, Paul. You'd be. Although you might get a little mad.
I do think it was. Well, I just get mad when they don't do it right. So I wouldn't get mad when we're doing it together.
I could just see, you know, they do the shot of Paul in the booth, and there's these empty Diet Pepsis all over the place. He's on his undershirt. It's all red.
He's in his undershirt.
Yeah. So I liked one of the things that Dominic said about Purdy and then in Goff, and I don't know if he meant it this way, but I think that it's sort of similar in that, like, no one thinks Goff's any good either.
Right.
And it's not about where the guy got drafted. Like, I know this, like, we were talking a little bit off air, like, well, there's this theory that because he was the Mr. Irrelevant, no one can admit they missed him. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think that plenty of people admitted they missed it with Brady. Didn't take that long. So to me, like, Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and people still don't think he's any good.
Right.
They think he's a product of the system,
but
just like Dominic said.
Yeah, other than the draft position, they're both very similar in that they're good quarterbacks. I think Goff has a better arm overall.
Oh, Goff is Goff has a lot more skill.
But I think what holds them back is under pressure.
Yeah.
You know, and making that mistake in a critical moment. Not that Brady did too. I mean, Brady had a lot of picks in the end zone, you know, but he would ultimately overcome those.
Yeah, I actually think Purdy is better off platform than Goff is.
Yeah,
sure.
But you know, they're both similar where they're just there, but they things are holding them back from being great. You know.
Yeah. I mean, and I think Jared Goff's made some real strides in his career. You know, I mean, going from that Patriots Super Bowl where, you know, it seemed like they kind of had him flummoxed a little bit with not really knowing what was going on, but. Yeah, we'll see what they do.
Bridgestone is the official tire of the New England Patriots and proud partner with Sullivan Tire, New England's headquarters for quality Bridgestone tires. Visit sullivantire.com to find a location near you. Paul's Food's here, so we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
As I think back over the past few seasons, I wanted to thank my most trusted game day teammate, Tostitos. As I recall the last-minute grocery runs and late-night dishwashing, the salty defeats and spicy victories, I realized it was all thanks to my teammate Tostitos. It was always you, Tostitos. Team up with Tostitos, the official chip and dip of the New England Patriots.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
What's up, everybody? Matty here. Part 1 of the 2003 The Super Sequel, A Patriots Super Bowl Sound Odyssey, is out now. Available wherever you listen to. Download your podcast. Check it out. It's great. Let's have a listen to a little snippet from Part 1.
They're Super Bowl champions for the first time. The New England Patriots coming out onto the Gillette Stadium turf.
crowd has been giving this team a standing ovation for over an hour. This is more like a Super Bowl celebration than an opening day.
A season after shocking the world and winning their first championship, the 2002 Patriots started hot, winning their first 3 games of the season after raising a banner against the Steelers. But they then lost their next 4 in a row, and that started an up-and-down season that would bottom out with a 2-game skid in late December against the Titans and Jets. That put their playoff hopes in doubt.
Disappointing loss for the Patriots here tonight in Nashville, Tennessee, to fall to 8-6 after forcing the Jets to punt. A fumbled punt recovered by the Jets at the Patriot 20-yard line, and the Jets regained the lead on a field goal, and the Patriots were never able to recover. Very disappointing game.
Scott Pioli, Patriots Director of Player Personnel.
Going into the 2002 season, we knew that there were holes, we knew that there were limitations with our roster, and we didn't make the playoffs, which was really frustrating to us on a number of different levels. But we also knew that we were setting, the groundwork was being set for this to be a good up-and-coming team.
Paul Perillo, Patriots Football Weekly.
They were way ahead of schedule, with their performance in 2001. And it was, in retrospect, fairly remarkable that team was able to win the Super Bowl. So I think that you got an impression that everything had sort of been, progressed to a spot that really it hadn't been.
Nick Fitzy Stevens, Patriots fan and personality.
Coming off of the shocking 2001 Super Bowl victory, Super Bowl 36, I think everyone regionally was so high and so grateful, so blown away by what the Patriots accomplished that year, that in a lot of ways the next season was gravy to Pats fans. 2002, like, hey, whatever you guys do, it's cool because you just delivered us a Super Bowl championship. But this being New England as well, our expectations can be a little high sometimes.
In the final week of the regular season, New England avenged an earlier loss to the Dolphins with an overtime victory that capped off a 3,700-yard passing campaign from Tom Brady.
Brady, touchdown to Troy Brown.
And a 9-7 record to finish the year, while putting the Patriots back into playoff contention.
The kick is good! The kick is good! It's good! And the Patriots win!
But their playoff hopes would depend on a Jets victory over the Packers later that afternoon.
And we are inside the Meadowlands here at East Rutherford, New Jersey. The New York Jets taking the field, and at this moment, they do not know their fate.
Christian Fourier, University of Colorado.
We need the Jets to beat Green Bay. They had already had it locked up.
Lamont Jordan gets over and is 6 for 6 for the New York Jets.
It's crazy how quickly the season just ended. You end the game with so much excitement and hope, and you're like, yeah, all we have to do is make the dance. Game's over. Everybody's high-fiving everybody. 30 minutes later, we all realized that the game was over and the season was over.
Matt Chatham, linebacker and special teamer.
I think 2002 was just still part of the process. Where Scott and Bill were trying to get it to. And it's just sort of a transition kind of period. We didn't do a lot of those little things down the stretch that we did in 01.
Teddy Bruschi, Arizona. We were worried about things we shouldn't have been worried about in 2002. I remember captains' meetings with Coach Belichick, and we were talking about what uniforms we were going to wear. It's like, we want to go blue on blue, so how's that sound, Bill? And Bill's looking at us like, what are you guys talking about? And so our heads were, I think we were still in the clouds because, as much as Bill could sort of preach one game at a time and do your job and all that stuff, human nature about becoming a champion, it is hard to forget. It's hard to forget, and I don't think we could do that in 2002.
Despite not making the playoffs, there were some silver linings to come out of the 2002 season. Most notably, the emergence of rookie wide receiver Deion Branch, who had 43 catches, 489 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Brady, quick slant, fires over the middle, caught. First down by Deion Branch, the rookie. Terrific catch.
Absolutely.
With Chad Scott all over it.
Sensational catch.
Branch would become a vital part of 2 Super Bowl title wins. Paul Perillo.
Branch was terrific from day one. He was one of those guys at training camp that you watched, and we've seen a lot of training camps now together, and you can see these guys, they stand out. They pop right away. And Branch was one of those guys. So you kind of had an idea. This is the kind of receiver they like. They like to accentuate the slot guys, that are more concerned with route running than necessarily the explosiveness. So he was a perfect fit, I think, for that offense.
Deion Branch, Louisville. The most important piece was going into it, having the opportunity to be drafted by the team that just came off a Super Bowl victory. Just being around these guys and taking all that stuff in. Being blessed to have guys like, Troy Brown as my captain, my leader. Obviously Tom Brady's the quarterback, but being in the room with Troy Brown and our brother, beloved brother who passed and left us, David Patton, man, a guy who I love so much and respect so dearly and have taken a lot of things from him. But being blessed to be in that room with those individuals, to be a part of the greatest team and the greatest head coach, man, that was everything as a rookie. Just trying to be a sponge. I didn't take anything from it. My most important piece, I want to do everything that these guys asked of me, and I tried my best to do that.
Tom Brady showed he was no flash in the pan, but the lack of a playoff berth quelled any immediate talk of the team being a perennial contender after winning a standalone championship.
That kind of gets me fired up because I'm thinking, what the hell do these people know?
Obviously, what Tom Brady did, was remarkable. In 2002, I think Brady showed you that he, in fact, was going to be that guy. A lot of people forget that he led the league in touchdown passes in 2002. The defense, however, started to lose some of the pieces that were part of that core because Bill brought in a lot of, his guys, the circle the wagon guys that were kind of veterans in 2001, big part of the team, tried to replace some of those guys, and it didn't work out. And I would say the very short answer to your question, what happened in 2002, they couldn't stop the run. They absolutely could not stop the run.
Christian Fourier, University of Colorado.
We were 9-7, and it was interesting because Brady had so much attention and accolades after that. What was his second year in the league, winning the Super Bowl. And then I remember we played the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had a great game, beat them. But then we finished 9-7. We lost like 3 games in a row. It was ugly. We were really fighting and scratching. And then nothing. So it almost felt like, the whole Brady mania had kind of died down. Now, he was still a young, good-looking quarterback that had a lot of, upside to him, but no one really knew what it was.
Nick Fitzy Stevens.
Entering the 2003 season, now we're at this sort of flashpoint, this very pivotal moment with these Patriots. Like, hey, is this Tom Brady guy really going to be something special in the long haul? Is this team going to be perpetually competitive? Or were they a flash in the pan who caught a little lightning in the bottle, and rather now they more are an 8-8, 9-7 type of team?
Karen Guregian, the Boston Herald.
Well, I think, after they won that first Super Bowl, to the shock of everyone, I think people sat back and, looked at the team, looked at their defense, and looked at this up-and-coming quarterback. And, they were thinking, well, maybe they can make more of this, and especially with Bill Belichick as a head coach. There was talk about the proverbial hangover. And with Tom Brady there and his mindset of always wanting the next one, it seemed like that wouldn't happen to the Patriots, but it did. And I actually think what happened in 2002 fueled quite a bit of what happened in 2003.
Paul Perillo.
They were banged up by the end of it. I think Tom himself had a separated shoulder by the end, and they fell short. I mean, championship medal you could see because that team just didn't have it, but they found a way to stay relevant right until the last game of the season.
When someone accidentally threw away the school play costumes,
oh no!
Replacements were shipped with FedEx, and with picture proof of delivery, everyone could focus on the perfect opening night. FedEx, where now meets next. For residential delivery only.
And now, great moments in history.
You know what you do when you don't really have anything tangible? You go on things that are completely subjective. I think it's Steve Belichick and Gerard Mayo understand.
Yeah,
I can't argue with that.
See, Paul,
I can't argue with that because I have no idea.
Paul makes fun of all the stats geeks unless he wants to use the stats.
I'm not giving you any stats. I'm giving you performance.
That's what it's.
The other team moved the ball at will and scored points. That's all. That's not a stat.
You think Green Bay moved the ball at will?
From the second half on, yes.
Okay, but not the first half, right?
No, they got off to a slow start offensively in the first half.
Why?
The Patriots defense played well in the first half. I said, go back and listen to the postgame.
And last week they put a game together where both halves they played, so they're getting better. They're getting better.
Yeah, but you told me they got better in the Green Bay game.
I think they were better in Green Bay than they were the week before. right?
Yes, they were.
So they're getting better.
They were, but they weren't better than they were against Pittsburgh.
Well, Pittsburgh stinks.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I do take some things into consideration. Who
I
the
think they were
opponent
better
is.
than. I think they were better against Green Bay than they were against Baltimore. I do.
Okay.
I do.
Evidence of getting better?
I think they were better from Green Bay to Baltimore.
Yeah.
I don't think that the Baltimore and Green Bay games.
So
were
did they
better. They weren't better in the Baltimore or Green Bay game than they were against Miami or.
Did they get better after Baltimore?
After Baltimore, yes, I'd have to say.
And then they got better after that game.
Right, but
so they're getting better.
But they got.
I don't know.
But they got worse.
Point Kirsch.
That's another great moment from.
All right. 855.
I like picking those apart later.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh stinks.
I can't even figure out what was going on.
Says Fred. Pittsburgh stinks, but Green Bay didn't stink. They had their season high in points against the Patriots, but they didn't stink.
855-PASS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline, web radio at Patriots.com. We're brought to you by the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism. Great memories are made in Massachusetts no matter how you choose to make them. Indoors or outdoors, scenic views or city vibes, solo or family style. Whatever moves you, whatever the season, plan your perfect Massachusetts getaway at visitma.com. Okay.
So I just looked real quick.
Oh,
I'm sure
what did you look at?
people were dying to know. Paul is. If we can get a shot of Paul real quick, he's got the 2003 gray mock hoodie.
Yeah.
It's not a hoodie.
No,
it's
not
a
a hoodie.
mock.
Yeah.
But Bill was 7-2 in that. Only once though, no sleeve. Only once did he have the sleeves intact. Usually cut sleeves on the mock.
Yeah.
So. I know there's a lot of people out there probably wondering, Paul, all of a sudden, where's this sweatshirt been for the last 5 years I've been here? I've never seen him in it. And today it's here. No, I don't think so.
Is there a chance that I haven't worn this sweatshirt in 5 years?
I would have probably known. I would have made a mental
You
note.
have your
Paul.
own database for Paul?
I have to start it now. I didn't know.
thinking.
I didn't know he was a hoodie guy, a mock hoodie guy. Sorry.
During the break, you heard some of the 2003 Sound Odyssey super sequel.
Yeah, the super sequel.
And that's been dropped. You can get that wherever you get your podcast. Part 1 is out. I, from what I understand, I think Bill Belichick is mentioned in it.
Nope.
No?
Nothing.
No Bill
we
Belichick.
We do it kind of like Madden does. We're like, we just call him any coach.
Okay. The coach of the Patriots. Yeah.
So just to let everybody know, I was part of it. I was one of the people.
Well, you heard him on it.
I was one of the people that Mike interviewed, so you know that Bill was involved. Bill
Paul,
got in it.
Keeper of the flame, Paul Perillo. Yeah.
No, Paul was great. And
I also mentioned Tom Brady at times.
What?
What? I did.
Deion Branch.
Yeah.
No, it was it's to 01. So much happened in 2001, and 03 was had a lot of good stuff, but it was not going to be 01. But I mean, the Rodney thing and the Lawyer Malloy, that was the big piece at the start, which I was excited talking to Pioli. Just like, did you guys kind of realize that you were doubling up a little bit? Like, it might come into like a conflict, and at that point he said no. We just we were just trying to get good players. We really liked Rodney. We thought maybe we could work it out. It obviously didn't work out. Paul, I thought, had a great quote too. He's like, I still don't know why Lawyer had to go.
Well, I think Bruschi, what he had to say about what Bill was thinking, maybe I could use them both.
Yeah. Well, and that's a kind of a precursor to what we see now. With this.
But Bruschi saying it was kind of a mess.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's what I thought was funny is because he's talking. I don't know. Bill's trying to sell us on this like too strong safety thing, and it's like this is where we're at now. Like that. Even at that point in 03, he was kind of looking at. How can we kind of blend the linebacker, second level, strong safety, get a little more speed? The big nickel.
Yeah.
So no, it was fun. I wish there were more great stories. There were definitely some good ones, but no, it wasn't as crazy as 01. I mean, 01 between.
Don't kill
I don't want to kill it. Sorry, I know. No, it's very
Jeez.
good. Part 1's out. Part 2 next week. So that'll be the regular season and then the playoffs next week. So
all right. Again, 855-PASS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline. Let's get back to the phones. Eric is in New Jersey. What's up, Eric?
Hey, how we doing today, fellas?
Hey, Eric.
I just got 2 points. One observation that I made, and it kind of goes back to the philosophy that we kind of had here, where we drafting corners. When you look around, the teams that played in the AFC Championship, minus Ladarius Need, none of these teams have, I wouldn't say that their cornerback room or their secondary is top tier. And I know maybe the philosophy. As opposed to better having pass rushers, as opposed to paying, having top tier, secondary players. And then just second thing.
Just real quick, I would disagree with you in terms of the AFC. I would agree with you in the NFC. Both secondaries on Sunday, I don't think are very good. But
Hamilton's pretty good for Baltimore.
Yeah, he's an excellent safety. Marlon Humphrey's an excellent corner. Trent McDuffie's an all-pro corner.
Yep.
As well as Snead. The secondaries at Baltimore and Kansas City are very, very good. Now the other side is he's right. Eric's right about San Francisco and Detroit. I think both have to cover for their secondaries.
Yeah.
Because I just look at the success. Obviously they haven't won a Super Bowl, as of recently, but they constantly put a good team out there. And again, there's not much, as opposed to the secondary.
It was also a 34-31 game.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously the game dictates, but you look at it. I look at it I'm saying it from the aspect of the playmakers. You see the play where Brandon Ayuk made, and again, you look at Detroit where they didn't have a guy that can catch a ball in a clutch moment. When you have guys that you have Debo, Kittle, you have these guys step up, as opposed to the premier talent is on the offense, where I'd rather have the playmakers. Like going into this draft, I'm big on the Harrison Pennick combo. If the medicals work out, as opposed to looking at these teams that want to build from the line. Because I look back at the Browns. You look at it; they had at one point Alex Mack, Joe Bettino, and Joe Thomas. You didn't win anything. So again, it's just the philosophies. I'm curious how this regime takes it forward, and I'll take it off the line. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Yeah, I mean, I think Devin, hinted at a little bit. There's a ton of tackles in this class, so it's just what's your philosophy? Do you take one of the high pick ones and assume he's going to be really good, or I hear everything he's saying, and it's I've always kind of leaned toward the side, at least on the defensive side of the ball, that if you got a really good front seven, and I think that's probably influenced by the early Patriots, where you'd have guys in the secondary going down, but you'd still have Seymour and Vrabel and McGinnis up front, and it never really seemed to matter. Maybe that's flawed thinking. But I think at this stage, you need athletes in the secondary. I think the game has changed too much since that time that, a guy like Christian Gonzalez is kind of vital. Just a mover, somebody who's quick and, can cover a lot of space. And
you just have to have those key playmakers that you can keep, because even offensive linemen move around. Mm-hmm. Back in the day, you'd have your 5, pillars of granite or whatever, and they would be there for 7 years, and your line would never change. Even now, there's the market for guards. You lose them.
Yeah.
So you have to have, your key guys, quarterback being, of course, one of them, where it doesn't really matter. You can, like Paul, likes to do, you can swap these guys in and out because your other guys are really good.
Yeah, you can't, there has to be, some modicum of attention paid to it. You can't do what the Patriots did this year and completely ignore it.
Yep. Right.
But if you I don't think Kansas City, Joe Tooney, all pro guard, one of the best in the business. He's out. They scored the first 3 times they got the ball. And I understand they only scored 17 points, but let's face it, they didn't miss Joe Tooney. You don't have to have the best player at every spot on the offensive line, but you just can't have retread never worse. Like the Patriots tried to do it with this year. Trading for guys who had never played, on an emergency basis before the start of the season. They got caught.
I think the key for offensive line is coaching. Get them coached up, communication,
play together,
cohesion, playing together. I think that's just as important.
I do think playing together is important.
Yeah,
for sure. But I think, to Paul's point, the Patriots have just gotten so far beyond. They just have nothing in the pipeline, and you look at the free agents in the tackle class, and it's tough. You're not going to go rebuild your tackles in free. They maybe could do it, and maybe they can at least secure one spot. But it feels like they got.
Yeah,
and I said this last year. They got to get a couple tackles.
And I do like what they
have
did.
A little depth at guard.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah,
maybe.
But they've certainly drafted guards.
But
so
I was just going to say I like what their thought was in the draft last year as opposed to the year before. Right. We're going to take 3 guys on day 3, and we'll probably get one.
Yep.
That can play. Who knows? Maybe we'll hit on 2. But the first round pick for a guard.
Oof.
Well,
I ain't going there again.
Yeah, unless he's like John Hanna, then you can get a guard later.
Yeah.
Even then, I'll wait.
No, I can be talked into.
Not John Hanna.
Yeah, because they won all those titles with him.
No, I think you need. And I just think specific to this team, I love Andrews. He's getting a little older. It'd just be great to have a young, stud left tackle that you feel great about, but it's just hard to get excited about it when it comes at the expense of maybe considering one of the top receivers, one of the top quarterbacks, and as these mock drafts continue to come out, it's like tackle, it's like 6 tackles going.
Well,
it's crazy.
And I did that thing that I was telling you guys about. I just sort of did a very imperfect exercise, just sort of looking at the third quarterback taken in a draft. And then I did the same thing for tackle and wide receiver.
Interesting.
And, like last year it's a little soon to say, but like the third quarterback in 22 was Malik Willis. That was the third quarterback taken. The third tackle that year was Charles Cross. The third wide receiver was Chris Olave. So like that's just 1 year. 21 was Trey Lance. Christian Darrisaw, Devontae Smith. So you can see, like, you can hit with the third or fourth tackle and the third or fourth wide receiver. It's really hard to do that with quarterback. Now, that's not me telling you need to take a quarterback or you need to ignore quarterback. I think it comes down to Fred's thing where if you identify one of these 3 guys as your favorite and you have a chance to take him, I think you should take him. Let's say that they think Jaden Daniels is better than Caleb Williams and Drake May.
Right. Yeah.
Then I wouldn't say, well, you can't take him because he's the third quarterback taken. And there have been, there's just to be fully transparent, Justin Herbert was the third quarterback in 2020. Josh Allen was the third quarterback in 18. Deshaun Watson was the third quarterback in 17. So it does happen where the third quarterback turns out to be as good or better than either one of the first 2. But I think it's more rare.
Herbert and Allen were more like closer to 10, right? Were they lower?
Herbert was 6. Allen was 7, and Deshaun Watson was 12.
Yeah. Nobody at 3. Yeah, I know. There's just something about
no, the only one that was actually taken at 3 was Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm. And that just kind of like reeks of, we really need a quarterback.
Right.
This is the guy this year.
Right.
We have to take him. We don't have a choice. We need a quarterback. That regardless
don't do
of
that.
I know.
Don't trust your scouts unless your scouts are telling you that Trey Lance is the best. But you've got to trust your scouts. You got to trust your board.
Fred, you want to get really upset? You know who the third wide receiver was taken in 2019?
2019.
Justin
Jefferson. Yeah, Jefferson. That's right.
Debo.
Oh, Debo Samuel. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson was actually the 5th wide receiver taken in his class.
Okay.
22 overall.
22.
But CeeDee Lamb was the 3rd one.
Right.
So then you start getting into, well, what about like the 6th wide receiver? There are a couple 6 and 7
I
wide
actually
receivers.
wrote Justin Jefferson down just because he was
notable,
so good. I did the same thing with DeAndre Hopkins. The year that was 13, Tavon Austin was the first one taken, and Cordero Patterson was the 3rd one taken. But DeAndre Hopkins was taken 2 spots ahead. He was the 2nd one, but at 27.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you can get a good player at those other positions. I think the chances of you getting that caliber player at quarterback are much smaller.
Don't overthink it. Travis in West Virginia, just the 3 Bulls today? You got that right?
That's right.
If Belichick was the coach of the Ravens, I think they would have beaten the Chiefs. Why? Because Zay Flowers would have been benched after the taunting penalty and would not have been in the game to fumble. Well,
that's good.
He does have a point there.
I felt bad for Zay Flowers. I mean, we spent so much time kind of focused and talking about him the last year. I mean, the BC thing, and obviously Evan loved him, and it just to see like so many like make a huge play and then make a huge mistake.
Yeah,
and then it's just tough.
He's
for
a good
kid.
player and he'll learn from it. I made the point about like I don't think the players for the Lions players in particular are taking enough heat, and the receivers that played for the Patriots always say, Bill always said, don't reach the ball out, and I've heard Bill say that a million times. I know the other coaches do the same thing, but the Patriots lately have had those kinds of things happen to them, right? Yep. I know Bill is going over it. I'm at training camp every day for 24 years. I know Bill goes over that. I know Bill talks about this stuff, but the players sometimes do dumb things.
Yeah.
And they had I think it happened twice once in each of the last 2 years, but I can't remember it now, where they fumbled near the goal line and the ball went out of bounds.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bill is always telling these guys, don't do this, don't do that. But that doesn't mean that the players do it.
Is that anywhere near the goal line? Or I mean, I don't know why I always thought it was just near the sidelines, because if they fumble it out of the end zone that way. But, it's even in the middle of the field, don't even reach it out.
But don't extend the ball, because if you lose it, the risk is too great.
Right.
For even like the quarterback on like a over-the-top kind of.
Well, that would be like on a 4th down or something like that. Like it's situational.
Yeah. Dan in Maine, as someone that's always cheering against Kansas City, I came to the conclusion this weekend on how people felt about the Patriots during the Brady era. Nobody could stop the Brady-Gronk duo, and nobody can stop Mahomes-Kelsey. Like you said, Fred, I think it's just too soon for us. At least we can say that Brady knocked him out in both the AFC Championship and Super Bowl. Great show. Always enjoy listening, especially in the offseason when there's no other football going on. Spee in Fresno. I'm rooting for KC over the Niners for a petty and senseless reason. I don't want Barth's net neutral quarterback idea to gain any steam as it would if Purdy won.
That's a better reason than the hate of Kansas City.
I want another year to go by without support for the idea that you don't need a great quarterback, leaving the Nudniks to rationalize another San Francisco Super Bowl loss because they put an average player at the most important position.
I mean, it's a pretty good juxtaposition between the Chiefs' offense and the Niners' offense. I mean, not totally, because the Chiefs have Travis Kelce too, but just what Mahomes is able to do without the complete all-star team around him. That to me is, proven a lot about who he is as a player.
Like no one would compare any of the other players. Like the only comparison is Kelce and Kittle. No one would compare Pacheco to McCaffrey. No one would compare Rashee Rice to Debo or Ayuk. Really?
Yeah.
Yep. Ken writes in, as much as I root against the Chiefs, I have to say I love Mahomes. He's just on a different level and a joy to watch. But interestingly enough, at the end of the Super Bowl 55, when Brady was consoling Mahomes, Tony Romo said Mahomes may one day match or surpass Brady's 7 Super Bowls, but Brady will have always this head-to-head matchup.
Yep.
Very prescient, don't you think?
2-0.
Yeah.
Too. Because I count the AFC Championship game too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he'll always have the head-to-head as a tiebreaker if it comes to that. Now, I don't think that Mahomes will win 7 titles. I don't think that will happen. I don't look at it that way either. Fred and I talk about this all the time. We both love John Elway. I don't rate players' ability based on how many titles they won. Now, I don't think it's inarguable that Tom Brady is the most accomplished player to ever play. That doesn't mean he's better than everybody that played.
Facts. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that reasonable minds can analyze and differ and agree and whatever, but I don't think that Mahomes necessarily has to win 7 titles to be in the conversation. Watch and tell me, do you think that he does things for his team that Brady used to do for his? And I think they're pretty similar players.
Yep.
They do it in different ways, but their bottom line is very similar.
Let's get back to the phones. Eldred's in North Carolina. Hey, Eldred.
Hey, fellas, how y'all doing today?
All right.
Yeah, I'm curious, a little curious. Purdy, I take Purdy last year and this year over what we had for the last 3 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yes.
Everybody keeps saying he's a systematic or he just whatever, especially Evans. But that dude showed me all kind of playmaking abilities. Running and throwing. So.
Yep. I don't think anybody would argue that they wouldn't take Purdy. Well, maybe Evan would.
Yeah, but I got a question for you. What's the hold up with the OC and why is dragging so long? And they don't, they're not trying to put a plan in place or what?
Well, I think they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
Having a hard time getting someone who's having the same interest.
I mean, they're doing the right things. They're interviewing the right kind of people, I think.
I think
but,
so.
It's just there's not a big market right now. And like we talked about at the top, he thought there'd be an experienced kind of guy that can take over the offense. But it's easier said than done, I think, at this point. And, yeah, it seems like signs are pointing Nick Caley. I'm waiting to hear if that's going to drop in the next day or so.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm hoping it ain't Troy Brown.
No.
It's not going to be Troy Brown.
All right. Thanks, Eldred. Let's go to Adam in California. Hey, Adam.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey guys, Question: assuming Bill doesn't get a job, I mean, I know Ben Johnson just decided to stay in Detroit. But
I was not aware of that.
I didn't hear that. Is that breaking news?
I believe so. Yeah, I just heard it on Colin Coward or something like that.
Okay. I did not. I thought there was a chance of that based on some things I heard yesterday, but I hadn't heard that. So that's good news for the Patriots because I think that could shake that other guy free, that Taylor. Is it Engstrom? Engstrom.
Okay.
He's the passing game coordinator, Fred, for Detroit.
Yep.
And a lot of people felt like he would ascend to the coordinator job for Ben Johnson if Ben Johnson left and went to Washington.
Just curious, is there anyone from the 49ers that they might be looking at that they're waiting on? The Patriots?
I don't know.
Not their OC, obviously, but because that's Shanahan.
Yeah.
But someone under him?
I don't know. I mean,
what's the Kubiak?
Oh, is he from the 49ers?
Yeah, isn't he the 49ers passing game coordinator?
Oh, okay, so
he's my guy.
So you need to wait.
Yeah. Tom Pelissero said he informed the Seahawks and Commanders he's staying in Detroit.
Oh, so that's really good news for the Lions because I worried about the Philadelphia effect with Detroit if they lost him.
So now does Bill Belichick have second thoughts about Washington, or does Washington have second thoughts about Bill?
Oh no.
No?
Washington has no interest in Bill.
How do you know?
Because I talk to people.
Oh, okay.
Sources. Yeah.
He knows
Okay,
Harris.
well,
I wouldn't know him if he fell on me, but I have talked to people that told me that they have no interest in Bill Belichick.
Okay. All right.
just my question,
Feldman.
guys. Do you think if Bill doesn't get hired and ultimately maybe the Patriots bring McDaniels back, they draft Marvin Harrison and try to run it back with Mack?
No, I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people have talked about Josh McDaniels coming back, but I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't.
I don't think so. I mean, signs don't seem to be pointing that way, but
yeah, you're wasting a lot of time if you're going to bring back Josh McDaniels.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, Adam. Thanks for the call. Let's go to Michelle in South Carolina. Hey, Michelle.
Guys, hi.
Hello. Yeah.
Hi. Good morning, afternoon.
Yeah.
So some of the radio people are saying this is a problem for the Patriots for Belichick not getting a job because now they have all the coaches still with the Patriots. But I don't understand that because why would the Patriots have to keep any of them? First of all,
Well, let me answer your question. If some of these coaches are under contract with the Patriots, you can't just you don't want to just release them because then you have to pay them, until they find a job. If Bill got a job and then they went with him, then you wouldn't have to pay them because now they've got a new job. So it always comes down to money, Michelle. Whenever you can't figure something out, it always comes down to the money.
I wasn't thinking about that. I thought they could just make something work and get rid of them.
Yeah, you can fire them, but then you have to pay them because they have contract. Yeah.
Well, I guess it would depend on the contracts, right? I don't know anything about their money, but
Yeah.
I can't imagine their contracts are so big.
No, but it's enough. I'm sure that there's a budget for coaching, and it's a lot smaller than the budget for players.
Right.
So might have got a little bigger now that Bill's not here. So there's more to spend on the other guys. But all right, thanks for the call, Michelle. Appreciate it. Let's go down to Tennessee. Melvin's there. What's up, Melvin?
What's up, y'all? What's going on?
Hey.
Hey, Mel.
Hi. Quick one. Do you all think that Chris Jones from Kansas City is a Hall of Famer? And if so, I guess separate, how far do you think Christian Barmore is from him right now?
I would say no. I don't think he is. And right now, Barmore isn't either. But we'll see. I mean, Barmore's got to get a little bit better and do it for seven
I would say
years
Chris Jones is a Hall of Famer and is light years away from Barmore.
Yeah, I would.
I mean, if Barmore starts to do some of the stuff with versatility, inside, outside, disrupting games, making Pro Bowls and all-pro teams, then that's different.
Yeah, I mean,
but we haven't seen that in 3 years.
He's just scratching the surface. And I mean, Chris Jones is he can rush from anywhere. You know, I mean, you saw Barmore take some strides this year, but I think he's still got a long way to go before he's.
I
just,
think Chris Jones and Aaron Donald are very similar
rusher.
players. I think he's that disruptive. I think Aaron Donald's better and did it for longer, but Chris Jones is.
He's good, but
ridiculously
I don't think
disruptive.
he's a Hall of Famer. I don't think so.
I think he is.
I'm just tough.
I just look at the best players in the game when they played. Like, he's, to me, a top 10 player when he plays.
And he's been the one constant on that defense, you know. It's, I mean, all kind of turned over around him. He's just continues to do what you need out of any defense, and that is get after the quarterback.
What you think of the baseball stuff, Freddie? That had to get you upset.
What? Who got in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Todd Helton.
So Tom Brady was on Pat McAfee today, and he confirmed he is going to call the Super Bowl in 2025 for Fox.
Really?
Little breaking news.
He confirmed that.
Confirmed it.
So in the booth.
In the booth.
Not in the studio.
I mean, I guess.
That's what people are, like I told you, I've talked to people from Fox.
Yeah.
And they are convinced that not only he will do it, but he will be good at it because he wants to learn. And he's always asking questions.
Anything that Tom Brady wants to do, puts his mind to, I'm sure he will hit it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, my concern with him is whether or not he'll be forthcoming. I know that he can try to do it, and like Fred said, he'll do it because he's maniacal. But will he be willing to call out the players?
Yeah.
When he needs to.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about ripping everybody for the sake of ripping people.
Right. But
he
that was a bad play, and that guy did it.
Like, he seems to be able to do that with the state of the game, like the play.
Yeah.
Because these guys are nowhere near as good as he was.
Yeah.
You know,
So
as
he
tells us all the time.
Yeah.
But will he do that when he's actually talking about the games every week? You know, I don't know.
How about Burkhart is their number one, right?
Yeah.
How about him, Bill, and Tom in the same booth, 3-man booth?
I have no interest in that whatsoever.
You have no interest in that? What's wrong with you? I think that would be unbelievably fascinating. Are you kidding me?
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just don't think Bill has anything to say.
I mean, if Bill had something to say, I would be excited. I'm a little skeptical.
Assuming he does.
I'm a little skeptical about Brady, though. I mean, and I agree with you guys. He'll probably work at it and get better, but it's hard to take the Tom Brady out of it. Like, I like Greg Olson because I don't care who Greg Olson is. He just talks and gives insight, and but it's going to be hard to not listen to this and be like, it's Brady. Brady's talking right now. Like, Brady's giving us this. I don't know. There's something weird about it, and
It'll be interesting.
I've always just thought he was the one thing I don't think he's great at is being an actor. Like, I just think and he's kind of stilted sometimes on camera, and I don't know. I'm sure he'll work at it.
That's Mike summed up my fear. I don't think he's got that personality, and I don't think Bill has the personality.
So before the Super Bowl, Kevin Burkhardt, Tom, you've been in a lot of these. What are these players thinking right now? It's about honor. Your honor.
Whose honor?
Your family's honor.
So. The other thing, too, is, and I know this is coming, like, to Fred's point, like, he'll throw this back in my face. I know when it happens. He's going to be like, that's a good throw on third down to pick up the first down. Everybody's going, did you guys hear Brady? He's so good.
Melvin
so refreshing. Like,
I mean, it'll never
Greg
happen.
Olson.
Yeah.
Okay, Greg Olson is perfectly fine.
Yep.
Okay,
right.
I think he does a good job of analyzing the game. He doesn't say a lot of stupid stuff. And people think,
they think
he's the greatest analyst who's ever come
running.
around.
It's unbelievable
because it's not fair, and I agree, it's not fair.
And he's good.
He's good. I think he does a good job.
Right.
And it's not fair that he's going to be cast aside for Brady. I get it, but now because of that, everybody thinks he's the great. It's just like when Romo, predicted a couple of plays before they happened his first year. Now everybody hates Romo.
Yeah, no, that's how it happens.
He's doing the same stuff.
Right. I mean, you'd never get it, but your Bill thing. Like, if you could have Bill Belichick be like, here's what just happened on that play, and just
right, and everybody will lose their minds. Like, did you hear him talk about that trap block? He just sees the game in a different like.
I don't know.
And Evan will be there like,
me too.
This is great. Like, everybody else will be like,
the guy's brilliant, and
of course he's brilliant, but no one cares.
No, but I think
we're not looking for brilliant out of our color analysts.
But I think he would figure out what works in the booth, and I don't think he would just let's talk about the origin of the 3-4 defense. I think he would give you stuff that like is really enlightening in a different way. I'm
just
guessing.
Maybe I'm just
wrong.
gonna be. And Fred always makes fun of me for this, like things that haven't happened or whatever. I'll create the story. I'm going to tell you that you're going to be right. That's the way it's going to be perceived.
Okay.
I'm just going to tell you that it's going to be.
So he's already setting it up no matter what happens.
No, because if he's really good, I'll tell you, you know what?
Okay.
I didn't see it coming, but he was really good.
Okay.
But I'll guarantee you that's going to be the perception.
For sure. You're 100%.
The perception is going to be Bill Belichick just said the word foot and ball in the same sentence.
100%.
Oh, my God. Mind blown.
100%. There'll be a certain portion of the football population, no matter what he does, it's going to be
like I don't know if you've heard, but he
I
got an
think
Emmy
he's
for his.
going to be good.
He got an Emmy for his role on the. Did he say anything that was at all earth shattering?
That just shows you that whatever you pay for, you'll get an Emmy for.
But my point is, he just he's Bill Belichick, and that's what makes him different. And I get that. Like hearing Bill Belichick say it carries more weight than hearing Mike Dussault say it.
Hey.
I understand that. But it doesn't mean that Bill Belichick was any more insightful than Mike Dussault.
Hey, thank you, Paul.
But
I brought it home for you.
I just think it would be fascinating.
And Mike Dussault is wicked handsome.
I just think it'd be fascinating.
What's he going to wear, though?
To hear Tom and Bill in the same booth and critical play happens and Tom looking at it from the offensive side, Bill looking at it from the defensive side, analyzing.
Neither one of them saying anything.
Well, if that's the case,
no,
that would be too bad.
Oh no, they'll say something and you guys will lap it up.
I hope I'll lap it up. I just think this is something you haven't seen though. Is like Bill on a clock, like watching a play. Like we've all seen him do a film thing, and he's got it all broken down already for you. But it would be interesting to me just to kind of experience it live and watch him take a play in.
Yeah.
And then what did you see? What stood out to you? Where are his eyes going? What is he watching? That to me would be.
See, I could see him next year with. Like his buddy Jimmy Johnson on that Fox pregame.
Oh yeah.
And they'll be yucking it up and oh my God, did you see it, Bill? Did you see them joking around? You see Bill? It's unbelievable. That's the personality he has behind the scenes that he doesn't let anybody in. That's what's going to happen.
He's funny.
I'm telling you now, it's going to happen.
See, you have to understand. Paul's not making fun of Bill here.
Yes.
No. He's making fun of the fawning over the people that just
Fred knows Paul as well as anybody on the planet knows Paul.
Come out and make a fart noise. And
you are correct.
Whoa.
Yeah. You are correct. I'm not making fun of Bill at all. Yeah. His personality is what it is.
Right.
No.
He's sort of dry and
Yeah.
I don't know what this guy's doing.
Analytical.
Here.
And like a truck driver when you get him away from the cameras.
Yeah.
That's another thing. You lose. Brian and I got to watch him film with him once. It was unbelievable.
I bet.
It was unbelievable, but not because I want to hear it on the game. To your point, live. As the plays are unfolding, the best guys can tell you what happened on a play before they see the replay.
Yeah.
And the worst guys are Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah. Right.
Who tell you what PFF said.
Yeah.
Which is so completely transparent that he's a part owner of the thing.
Right.
That everything he goes, and this is really all about the pressure that
That's good.
Nick Bosa comes. I mean, you gotta be telling me Nick Bosa, and then you watch the replay and he's nowhere near the pass.
Right.
But Nick Bosa is 2 in PFF's rankings,
right.
or whatever. I'm just picking a guy. I don't know who's actually second in pass rushing, but you know my point.
Yeah.
And it's
my
so
wife hates Chris Collinsworth's voice.
He's terrible.
She hates his voice.
What about Jack Collinsworth?
It's the same thing. It's so funny. Isn't
It's I got enough Chris Collinsworth. I don't need another clone of him coming up.
I'll tell you though, Mike, he's really talented, and he would have gotten that job even if his name was Jack Dussault.
It's he's just doing an impression of his dad the whole time.
Jacques Cousteau.
Jacques Cousteau.
Anyway, I would.
It is like he's doing an impression of his father.
Yeah, I would stream that. Bill and Tom in the booth. I'd stream that.
Oh yeah.
I'd go to the effort of streaming it.
If you mean watching? You got your own things going on with our game. You mean?
No.
Do you ever
people complain?
you
I
go
have
to a streaming service.
I would go to a third-party app.
I see.
So do you ever listen to the Manning cast?
No.
Yeah. I would listen to them do that. Tom and Bill do that, just like I do with Peyton and Eli, because I'd be curious to see not under the bright lights of the actual game. They're just kind of speaking off the cuff. That I'd be interested in hearing.
They can meander into their own territories.
If they did it again, to Fred's point, they can't just be well, that was a really good pass.
But if they're really
right.
honest,
Yeah.
if they're really honest, wouldn't it been fascinating for Bill and Tom to have done that Detroit game and talk about the decisions that Campbell made?
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly.
Sure.
It would be great. Anyway.
I'm in.
Let's go to Trey in Memphis. What's up, Trey?
Hey, guys, how's it going?
Hey, Trey.
Good.
Man, I haven't called in a very, very long time.
I know. Where you
But
been?
guys
What's
know
going on in Memphis?
Man, I do a lot of listening.
A lot of
more
walking.
than I do calling, and like a lot of the things that I hear is just, my mind can't take it. But two things. First, I want to say, last night I was sitting in the house, man. I just thought about, the past years, in the early PFW years with, of course, you, Fred, you, Paul, Andy Hart.
Yeah.
Eric Scalavino, and callers like, Cat.
Oh, Cat in Chicago.
And Melvin and the legendary Nick Baby Love. And I just, those days, man, you can't replace those days.
Those are the halcyon days.
Yeah, heady days. Heady days.
The salad days at BFW in progress.
Yeah.
And I reflect on those days, man, and you guys would, really, really trip us out. And, those were great. Those were the days, and not saying, that these days don't mean anything. But, man, those were the days.
Well, we have to create new days.
Yeah.
I was waiting for Fred to do his boy the way Glenn Miller played.
Those were I don't think the Patriots can sit around to day two and wait to get the quarterback because I think a lot of teams are going to reach. Some guys are going to get overdrafted on day one. And even the guys, the teams that have quarterbacks, and some of them may take that Green Bay approach, get a guy now and let them sit and let them learn. So what you guys think about that? And I'll get off the call.
All right. Thanks, Trey.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I like where he went for some of the other teams that aren't necessarily looking for a quarterback. Like I could make an argument for that. Like if you get like a second-round pick on a Bo Nix, if you already have a quarterback, something like that.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy.
I just wonder what it looks like, the roster looks like when you get to the draft. Like, what kind of quarterbacks are on the roster when you even get there? Like, is it screaming, we just have a placeholder here? Or, is there a Kirk Cousins forbid? Like, I just...
There's no way.
I mean, I don't think there's any way we're getting on the draft, and it's just...
not after that report.
Fred's out on Kirk Cousins after the $90 million.
Yeah, he's looking for 2 years, $90 million guaranteed. The Patriots aren't giving him that.
No.
But should they?
If they were really close, yeah, maybe.
Well,
I mean...
So, no.
Yeah.
Maybe
I agree with you. I don't think they should give him that.
Yeah, no, it's like the question.
But I also don't think Kirk Cousins would sign a 2-year, $90 million guaranteed contract to quarterback the Patriots.
Yeah, so the real question is, should any team do it? And I think a team that is close should. Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is a defeatist attitude, but like Patrick Mahomes, Tua, Josh Allen, like what realistically could the Patriots do to really get back into the top of the AFC in the next 2 or 3 years? Like Kirk Cousins,
they'd have to.
Like, is that going to make any kind of dent in Mahomes? Like,
no,
are
not
going to take Kansas City.
Not
down,
as the roster is currently constituted. No, but like Atlanta, if I was Minnesota, I'd give them that in a heartbeat to stay. I think the Falcons would make sense. I think Washington would make sense. Bring them back to Washington. Now Washington's probably going to draft one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think those kinds of teams that have a little bit more. I mean, Washington probably doesn't fall in. Atlanta does. Tampa does.
Is it stupid to just sit in the AFC and be like, I don't know, guys, let's just take our time because this conference is stacked right now.
I don't
for
know.
us to think about like trying to leapfrog Lamar, Josh Allen, Tua, Mahomes,
well, that's why
Burrow.
I made the comment about the.
Is there any quarterback that would make the case that you're going to jump any of those teams?
Yeah, like the Patriots, like the Chiefs, I think were really comparable to the 06 Patriots this year.
Yeah,
in that they kind of like they had played at a high level, and then the roster kind of like lagged a little bit, and then they found a way to win some game. Like that win in San Diego. Still a proud champion, one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
And then they just reloaded and kept going. I think that's what Kansas City's going to end up doing. And I think people are going to look back,
This was the year you could have got them.
You had a
Had to
chance
let 'em.
to get them when they were down, and you still couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Buffalo, like you had
Yep.
had every opportunity in your buildings to beat a team that was flawed, and you still couldn't do it.
Not to mention Burrow was out of the way this year, too.
If you want to take a swing at the king, you best not miss.
Yeah, you best not.
And they missed.
Yep. Miles from State College writes in, I'm in the library studying for an exam right now. I hope this doesn't make you guys or any listeners rip their hair out, but I love Mac. I think he's been screwed over here and has the potential to be great. I think we could be a playoff team next year if Josh McDaniels comes back as the OC and they draft Marvin Harrison Jr. Do you think there's any chance that happens? And what are your thoughts on that? I think you better keep studying.
I think there's a chance it happens. I don't think there's any chance they make the playoffs doing that.
I don't either. I mean, I respect that people think that, Matt got done a little dirty, but I also just think based on what we've watched, games, preseason, practices, joint practices, you would have saw something more that made you feel like it's in there. We can get it out of him. And it doesn't seem like Bill was even interested really in trying to pull it out of him. The only thing Bill really did was just refuse to kind of acknowledge he was the starter and kind of continue he's in competition. He needs to continue to, work his hardest to secure this job. I'm not going to hand him anything. I don't know.
The other part of that Mass Live story that I thought was interesting, you mentioned the Stinger thing earlier. His sort of acknowledgement, Geno Smith, I think he thinks that's where he's headed.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go somewhere and be a backup for a little while before I get another shot. Which I think he's right to be thinking that way. But I think that's even telling you where he is. I think you've already seen the best he has to offer, I think. The best he has to offer to me was week 1 through week 10 of his rookie year.
Yep.
And I don't think that he is capable of playing better than that.
Yeah. I think he had a pretty good game in Minnesota last year. So I think that week 1 through 10, Paul, his rookie year, he was so highly managed.
Yeah, that's why I think that's the best he could be.
Well, then that's not good.
Right. And I'm not telling you he didn't have a good pass in any time after that, but how'd they do in the fourth quarter of that Minnesota game?
Yeah. No, he faltered. He had a good game.
Because that's what he does.
He had a decent game against Buffalo this year.
Yep.
And it's just not traits to gamble
No.
on, if there were traits,
Yeah.
you could he's always going to have a rocket arm,
Right. And every quarterback has a good game once in a while.
Yep.
Nick Mullins threw for 400 yards. Even bad quarterbacks have good games.
Nate in Boulder says, darn you, Fred and Paul.
Uh-oh.
You cursed the Lions by mentioning how you were worried about Coach Dan Campbell making a bonehead decision and ruining your chances of going to the Super Bowl. And darn it, all through the game, I kept on thinking he was about to make a bonehead decision, particularly by going for it on 4th and 2 when he didn't need to, and he did it twice. So, yeah.
He should have done it 3 times. I think he should have gone for the one at the end of the half. You kicked the field goal there. To me, that was a free one because you don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
The other team is going to – if you don't get it, the other team's on the 2-yard line or whatever it was, the 1-yard line, and it's the end of the half. So you're not going to give up any points. I think that was a free shot to go for it.
Andre in New Jersey, not listening live, but when it comes to the NFC Championship game, which was a good game, by the way, let me take a guess what happened in the household of Paul and Evan when watching this game. Paul's in his man cave, his recliner, chugging a couple liters of Diet Pepsi. Was it Diet Pepsi or Diet Miller?
It was Sunday night, Fred. It was Diet Pepsi.
Diet Pepsi. Seeing the Lions on 4th down, 3 to tie the ball. Instead of they went for it. Paul, my guest, says, here we go again with this buffoon of a coach costing his team to go to the Super Bowl. Just kick the damn field goal.
I'm surprising you. I didn't do that. I do think you should have kicked the second one.
Then he woke up Beth from her good night's sleep with all that yelling. Evan...
Beth was mad. Beth wanted Detroit. She was really invested in Detroit.
Yeah. Evan was watching the game with Jess, especially seeing the second half for the Niners. He turns to her and said, boy, that Purdy guy, I really owe him an apology. Did you see the way he ran? I thought I was seeing Josh Allen out there while having a poster of Joe Alt next to his television.
See, the Purdy stuff to me is interesting. I don't think he really did anything. I mean, he made a couple of runs.
Made a couple of runs.
Got
away. Yep.
And got away and made plays. And that's, the people that say those are the things that he does, I agree. He's better off platform than Even like I said, like the Jared Goff, he's much better under pressure off platform than Goff. But like literally the whole second half, and I know that it's not like he completed a 51-yard bomb that was perfect. He threw a ball off the other team's face
He had some good
for 51
plays.
yards.
He had some good
You take
throws.
that out, and it's the same. Like he did really nothing.
Now you sound like Evan.
No, I'm more on Purdy's side than Evan for
Sounds
sure.
like it. Yeah.
I
He
just
didn't do
call
anything.
because I call it like I see it, Fred. I don't just get cornered in my take.
I thought he had a good game.
Okay, I thought he was really thoroughly average in both games.
I thought his line wasn't that great, and
I agree with his line. His line stinks.
I think he stood in there, took some hits, made
I agree.
some plays.
I agree with the taking hits and making some plays. I don't think he played well.
All right.
And he played better than he did against Green Bay, but not by a lot.
Well, he's still learning.
And if he does
He's
that,
still young.
like I said, I don't think Kansas City will hand him the game if they do that again.
Tony's in Canada. Hey, Tony.
Hi, guys. Just listening to the show, and I have to agree with Mac Jones. I was hopeful that he would turn out to be the quarterback, the franchise quarterback. It just didn't work out that way. I'm wondering if you guys checked out or heard Tom Curran's podcast. He interviewed Joe Dixon, quarterback coach for Mac Jones, and what your thoughts were about that. I'll get off the air right away. My view is Mac might be that guy to hold that position for the next year, maybe bring him back on a rookie contract for the 1 year, his last year. But we have to go back in. We have to find that franchise quarterback, and it's going to be a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So I'll go off the air and I'll listen to you guys. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Tony.
I'm just kind of curious.
I didn't see the current thing.
I didn't either, but I'm just kind of curious as to why people want Mac to be that guy. Why are people interested in that? Like, if you're going to do that, if you don't have anybody, like to your point, I think you put it, Mike, it depends on what that looks like at the time. Like, is it a Kirk Cousins or someone, or is it just, or is there no
Mac and
Mac and Zappy?
Yeah, Mac
like,
and Zappy.
Why is anybody interested? If that's what it ends up being, like you didn't get anybody, you couldn't sign anybody. Wouldn't you rather have Zappy play next year?
I mean, I think
I would.
Yeah, I mean, and
just for the less drama.
I don't necessarily think it's less drama. I think he played better than Mac did.
Well,
it wasn't by a lot, but he played better.
Yeah,
and I think I would posit that the team would be more likely to get behind Zappy.
Did you just have to redo your check?
Yeah.
Yeah,
me too.
Yeah.
You got a little bump, a little extra in there for you.
Actually, it went down.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to acknowledge.
Not approved.
Yeah,
not
don't
approved.
Yeah. So I get what Paul is saying. I would be disappointed if either one of them is starting.
Fred,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if they get stuck the way Mike explained, I don't understand why people are interested in Mac.
To be the
placeholder. Like what?
Yeah.
So
I just don't want all all
but
the
it doesn't.
nonsense.
But
that
it doesn't
comes
make
along.
any sense. Even if he plays well, let's say he plays well, and it's like this miraculous story.
Yeah.
Now you want to give him $40 million,
right? If you don't pick the option, you're going to
because
have to decide next year.
There's almost nothing he could do for you to want him back at that money.
Right.
Let's say $35 million. Let's just call it $35 million a year. There's almost nothing he could do that most Patriots fans would want to invest in him like that. So to what end? To what end?
He plays well. And
he
then
plays well, and then you're going to lose him. Or he plays the same that he's played the last 2.5 years, and you stink again because of him.
And you get another high draft pick.
Part of the plan.
So there's another one I'm on Felger with.
Yeah.
Felger's big thing is you don't take the quarterback, in 3. You look into if his big thing was if you had that Miami trade where you went from 12 to 3 with San Francisco. San Francisco went from 12 to 3, and they got all these guys, and he rattles off all the names. He also adds first-round picks that they didn't get because he counts switching from 12 to 3 as a first-round pick.
Right.
Yeah. Which that's not how it works. But he goes through this whole thing. You wouldn't want to do that. And then like I would definitely do that, especially if you could do it with like a team who you think isn't going to be very good, and then you'll have. Well, why do you care how the team is? You obviously have no interest in the third pick. How much higher than 3 you're going to get? You don't want to take the number 3 pick.
Right.
But you're interested in how bad the team is that you're trading with, so it can be another high pick next year. You don't care about the high pick. Yeah. Like, the philosophies are so flawed. If you want to trade and trade down, I think there's a good argument to be made for that. But that's because you couldn't get a quarterback.
Right.
So I don't want to take a tackle at 3.
No.
Or Marvin Harrison at 3.
Yeah.
Let's go to Travis in Greensboro, North Carolina. Hey, Travis.
Hey, my call is the same as the previous caller about the Matt quarterback coach. So he went on Tom Curran, and he basically stated that he advised Matt to get a trade after his first year.
Yeah.
Because he saw that, Bill Belichick wasn't putting in the stuff he needed to be supportive. And I kind of look at and basically was saying that the reason Matt, one of his struggles was it was all in his head, like having to replace Tom Brady, not having an offensive line. So for that reason, I kind of feel for Matt. I don't think he's going to be better than what he is, but I think they just could have did more for him.
Yeah.
Considering who he was replacing, the Boston media, no weapons. And
Boston
that's
media.
my viewpoint on
The
it.
Boston media loved Mac Jones his first year. Absolutely
yeah, but they
loved
complain
him.
about everything. Like the Celtics are winning and they're still complaining.
No, that's
okay.
That's like a 1978 view of the Boston media.
Thanks, Travis.
The Boston media was absolutely in love with Mac Jones his rookie year.
Oh, yeah.
I was a lone voice in the wilderness.
Oh, yeah.
And now all of a sudden he was heavily managed.
All right again. Shaddy in Houston.
Hey, Richard Seymour.
Yeah.
I don't get them all right, Fred.
Shaddy in
I don't
Houston.
get them all right.
Just a note on the Roquan penalty. This is the one where he,
ran offsides.
He
like a
had to
madman.
do a personal foul, as the Chiefs could have declined the offsides penalty, and time was the most important factor there, not yards. You can't decline a pre-snap penalty, can you?
They could, but that's dumb. If they did,
Right.
that would be dumb.
Right.
Like you run the
Because it's
risk.
still
You
the
run the
same
risk
down.
of not getting 5 yards if you turn that.
Yeah,
down.
it's still the same down. It's not, like there's no advantage to declining a pre-snap penalty.
I think technically he's right. Technically he's right, but that doesn't mean you get a 15-yard penalty, a personal foul, like that. I don't think that was the only thing maybe it was.
Yeah.
But he could be right. Maybe Kansas City would have declined the penalty to make it stay 1st and 5 instead of 1st and 10. Maybe they would have.
Alex and Raleigh, someone tell that kid to study harder and pray he doesn't become a football coach. Mac is done here, and if he comes back, the tank is still on, even with Mayo. Mac should have never been drafted by the Patriots. No clue what people still see in him.
And again, I give the emailer credit for thinking outside the box. If Kansas City declined it, so the clock's still not running, now you got to do it.
Do it again.
Right?
Yeah. All right. Before we leave, I just want to say whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Safe bets. None of your dumb bets, Mike.
Don't chase your losses.
Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn about safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Wow. It's a mouthful.
It's a lot.
In other words, don't be stupid. Only bet what you can lose, and don't chase your losses.
Don't chase your losses.
All right. Right, Paul?
Right, Fred. I haven't made a bet in a long time.
Okay. All right.
I've been smart with that. Wicked smart.
Yeah. A lot of babies, they get like a little blanket when they're a little baby. Paul got a book.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he was making
He's
book.
already reading. Oh, you mean like a book?
Yeah, book. All right. That's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. We'll be back on Thursday. Tomorrow, Catch 22 will be at 3 o'clock.
I believe about 3, but somewhere between 2 and 3.
3 p.m. Eastern Time. Evan and Alex in remote locations. Of course, Evan from Mobile. We'll see you Thursday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
As I think back over the past few seasons, I wanted to thank my most trusted game day teammate, Tostitos. As I recall the last-minute grocery runs and late-night dishwashing, the salty defeats and spicy victories, I realized it was all thanks to my teammate, Tostitos. It was always you, Tostitos. Team up with Tostitos, the official chip and dip of the New England Patriots.